Okay. So, David.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Depending on how long we go on for, I may have to leave a little bit early because I'm joining the interfaith event this afternoon and visiting a number of places of worship in Aberdeen, including a prayer hall and a Baptist church and one or two other places before the event late this afternoon. So I may have to leave perhaps about 10 to 2 if we haven't finished by then. And I apologize for that. When I was thinking about joining today, well, first of all, you all know about the Varapunya Centre and what we do, so I don't need to sort of summarize that. But what I thought might be worth summarizing is a question that actually Dharma Shakya put to myself and Dejan by email just after last week's Wednesday morning practice. And that was in two parts. Why do we meditate? And what did the Buddha say about meditation? Now, in part, on the Wednesday morning, I try not to do too much in the way of Buddhist teaching. First of all, because I'm not qualified. I'm still a student of Ajahn Sujan. And secondly, we have a whole variety of lay people and a whole variety of reasons why they're there, of course. Some are there for finding a few minutes of peace and tranquility. One or two people perhaps are there because they just need that weekly boost of mindfulness meditation practice. And perhaps a few are there because they have a regular practice. And so the opportunity to explore Buddhist teaching and why we practice comes along occasionally when questions are asked, and that leads us to explore the practice. And of course, we have the Buddhist teaching on meditation practice, which comes from some of the texts that were written quite some time after the time of the Buddha's actual teaching. But the practice we focus on in our teaching and practice is, of course, mindfulness meditation practice. And Ajahn will correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but there are a number of observations to make about that. The first is that meditation practice was around quite a long time before the Buddha himself, I believe. And secondly, the practice of mindfulness meditation practice evolved because the Buddha himself observed the connection between mindfulness in life and meditation practice. That if we can use meditation practice to bring calmness and tranquility to the mind, we also bring that calmness and tranquility to our body. And if we practice regularly with persistence, we find that this brings peace and tranquility, not only to the mind and body, but to how we observe our thoughts, how we respond to our thoughts rather than react to our thoughts, And then as we bring a peaceful response to our thoughts in our speech and actions, then we take that into our everyday life. So as I understand it, that was the essential connection. And of course, there were a series of teachings that describe the various stages of mindfulness meditation practice. We use the breath, but of course, there were many teachings about meditation on the body parts, both the external body parts that we observe and the internal body parts. And of course, we use the breath partly because that's immediately available to us. We carry the breath with us wherever we go. And through mindfulness meditation on the breath, we can observe, for example, the movement of the breath at the belly. Or we can observe the movement of the breath at the chest or at the tip of the nostril. And actually, this is the only way we can observe the breath. Other than the fact that the breath keeps us alive, there are actually very few ways in which we can observe the breath rising and falling. The second reason I think, and I quite like, is because the breath is with us anytime, anywhere, and that means we can practice anytime, anywhere. Whether that's at the bus stop, on the bus, or for me the other day, waiting in the doctor's waiting room. Waiting for 5 or 10 minutes in the doctor's waiting room is a perfect opportunity to practice mindfulness meditation on the breath. And of course, as has been observed, that life gives us every opportunity to practice. So with that goes ethical living. And in life, how we respond to people, how we respond to situations in our everyday life. So for me, in the round, these are all the reasons why we take the teachings of the Buddha and practice mindfulness meditation as the way to peace and tranquility, and for those who seek it, to ultimate transformation and liberation. And in the Buddhist teachings, that's liberation for rebirth in samsara, the human cycle of life. So Ajahn, I think with that, I should probably pause there. You can add far more than I can add, but perhaps with that reflection, it helps us or reminds us why we actually come to this practice, either on an occasional basis or on a regular basis, either as a lay person or as a Buddhist practitioner.
Can I just make a comment, David?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, these 3 questions actually were my daughter's question to Sumana Bhante. So I think maybe you don't know Sumana Bhante. Susan Bhante knows him quite well. About 10 years ago, Sumana Bhante was encouraging my children to meditate, and my daughter suddenly asked, "What for? What actually happens during meditations?" I do my own way. Sumana Bhante was taken aback and he couldn't answer. So since then, I've been trying to answer her, but she's still not convinced. So I thought, yeah, I from time to time, I ask myself to see whether I'm going the right way or wrong way. You can go wrong way in Buddhist meditation practice if your intention is not pure. Now, that's why I thought I'll raise this question. Thank you very much for your kind reply. It was very helpful to me. Thank you.
And before Ajahn comes in, can I just say that I think for all of us, if you ask anyone at all, they seek happiness and peacefulness in our lives. And I think the answer to any young person is it's a crazy world out there. And at some point in our lives, we all need to be able to find peacefulness and calm. And meditation, if we practice, is the place to find that peacefulness and calm, because we cannot find it in the world out there. The world out there offers us a crazy world. We can only find it within ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
Ajahn, I'll zip.
So thank you very much for the reflection and the questions. We have to remember that mindfulness, meditation, or known as sati, which the sati was used in ancient India before the Buddha as the form of remembering, not as a meditation. As a form of remembering things. And Buddha used it very differently. This is a form of practice to keep the mind on an intended object. And the reason behind the keep the mind on the intended object is not to memorize things, but to train this mind itself, so that the mind will not be under the impression of things that come to contact with it, and then goes along with that without knowing it. So Buddha used it in a very different form of this word sati, and now translated it as a mindfulness. So in the practice of a mindfulness, again, it's something like it's like when we have eaten, we are full, we will not be thinking of a food. What is that food for, right? Or another way of looking at it, that when we are not experiencing any form of suffering, or have understood that there are some conflicts may have arise, or may there be, then we will not be thinking of practicing it, because we do not see the effect of it, or we do not think that it is necessary for us. It's like if we are asked, what is the paracetamol for? When you are fit enough, we will discard it, even we will put into the bin. We do not see it as an important for us at all. Maybe it's just like another rubbish lying around, and we do not need it. Now, whereas if we have seen that this paracetamol can be used when we feel not well, then we will keep it in the right place, and we memorize where that paracetamol is. So in this way, again, same with the soldiers are training every single day. And now the question is, why do they have to train? There is no war. Now, in the human history, or the civilization tells us that there is a possibility of a war at any time. There's a possibility of a war at any moment. And with that, all the soldiers are prepared and preparing every single day in case this happens, so that we can we will be able to tackle with it. And that is the reason why all the nations are injecting maybe over than a half of their fundings of the national funding budget. So investing for the training and enhancement of the military. Now, this is because we saw the possibility of war, possibility of illnesses, and possibility of hungry, we keep the food, we keep the paracetamol, and we keep the training. The same way, if we look at ourselves and if we have understood that there is a possibility of a disappointment, sadness, anger that could arise at any moment, and there is a possibility of conflict in various ways, since we are not perfect and world is not perfect, then in order to prevent us from going downhill or feeling low, feeling disappointed, and not able to understand the feelings and emotions and become under the impression of that emotion, and that emotion, take controls over you and become depressed and stressed and goes on into so many other mental and physical difficulties, or become mentally ill. So to prevent that, a mindfulness meditation is a form that we are practicing it to simply being skilled and simply understanding that there is possibility of it, and we got the medicine, we are trained, fully trained, and we have full saved rations, so we will not be starved, and we are not also will be ill or able to tackle with any conflict that may have come or have happened in the moment. So that's one of the benefit of the practice of a meditation, is that we will gain the happiness here and now. And that is simply because we are dealing with so many things in one day. Things like we see, we hear, we smell, we eat, and so many other stops coming in, and we have to interact with so many other people. With that interaction and dealing with that, there is always possibility of a disappointment, always possibility of a failure, and always possibility of wanting to have but can't have it. So that's why this practice of a mindfulness meditation it is not the end, but it is a means that is helping us to grow and improve our skills. And that skills, once we have developed, what happens is that we will be able to use these skills along the way, so that we will not be unhappy. We will be able to see that, oh, this is, I have known it. It is, there's possibility of it's happening. We will be able to accept and then let it be. So that's why it's a recognition of things that is happening. And then rather than let it take control over us, and then we become upset, what we do is just regain our mindfulness and learn to know what's happening, and then being here and now. So with that, we will be able to function properly, and we will be able to deal with the situation rightly. And with that dealing, then it brings the happiness, inner happiness. Right? So that's why this mindfulness meditation is the moment when we practice correctly, in a right way, in a right method, and a persistent practicing helps us to gain the right understanding of the situations, right understanding of the environment, right understanding of ourselves, right understanding of the world. When we have this right understanding of the world, what happens that our intention becomes right. So there will be a positive intention towards it. And with that, what happens is that another three factors, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration becomes on the right path. Now, if I may quote, the Buddha said clearly that the practice of the mindfulness meditation is simply to develop the Eightfold Noble Path. And the purpose of developing the Eightfold Noble Path is to cultivate the serenity and insight meditation, or samatha and vipassana meditation. And the purpose of the development or cultivation of the samatha and vipassana meditation is to gain the knowledge and liberation. To gain the knowledge and liberation. Now, forget about the liberation. I'm not saying that we will be liberating soon. And I hope you can, if you have a good perfection and a good, a persistent practice, and good luck with that. But I may not be in that yet, but may not be in that liberation. But at least whenever we are coming into contact with the things, the emotions and disappointments and things, that moment we will be able to keep ourselves in balance, and then not having any desire, no resentment towards anything that is happening. So with that, we will be happy here in this present moment, and we will be living not mindfully, but we become a mindful living, a mindful person in every works of life, any walk of day-to-day basis, whether we are saying something, whether we are physically doing something, or whether we are thinking of something. The moment whenever we are thinking of any negativities or towards the harming of somebody, we will be able to recognize that, okay, I'm having this thought, so I need to stop or change that pattern, like that. We become mindful of that. Now remember, our mind itself is not ours either. Right? It is not ours either. It is, again, changeable, and it is also known as the anatta, non-self. We have no control over it at all. Okay, and yet we are just training it. And with that training, what happens is that our mind becomes accustomed with the positive development, or so-called wholesome actions, wholesome activities. And with that wholesome activities, in Buddhism, we believe there is the life after death, and this life after death continues, so that the practice of a mindfulness meditation will help us to gain the right place. It's like buying a right ticket to the right destination, right? Not like you are buying a ticket, but you forgot where you are now going, or you don't know which day, or missed the date. But you have a right understanding of the date and the destination. So with that, our destination is fixed, that we will not be going into a miserable place, but we will be reborning in a good state. So that's why the second benefit is getting into the right destinations in the future lives to come. Now, you may have a question whether there is a future lives or not. Now, I cannot explain it, but if you have gained the good meditative states of meditation, then you could see the links, and you could see how it is happens, and it's not like a belief, but it's like a form of seeing and experiencing it, that this is there. And with that, what happens that it will confirm with the practice of a meditation, again, another layer. It confirms that there is a life after death, which is known as the samsara, that continues. And with that understanding, mindfulness meditation, again, further helps to see that why I am having this rebirth after rebirths. And that simply, it helps us to recognize that every action that we do now, it's not about the past actions that we have done. It's not about what we are going to do in the future, but any action that we are doing now actually defines the future lives. And on the basis of that future lives that coming, so if we can purify this present life actions in a wholesome, and then it eventually becomes a neutral, then the liberation is not that far away, actually just by the corner. All you need is to make sure that you are able to keep the balance and not having this liking and disliking, on pleasure and unpleasant in anything that is coming, an ability to see in true reality as it is. So with that, eventually, you will also gain the liberation. So that's why this is the purpose of the practice of a mindfulness meditation. And when we think about the mindfulness meditation, normally we comes to the Satipatthana. And again, a Satipatthana meditation, we have to remember, it's not about focusing on the breath alone. Although Buddha emphasized the breath meditation is so extensively, and we believe that the Buddha used this as the fundamental part of the practice of a meditation. Having said that, doesn't mean that this is the only one. There are many, but this is one of the famous and one of the easiest to practice. And the Buddha also used it almost to all the practice too. And even the Satipatthana, there are 21 ways of doing, 21 ways of practicing in a like a broad sections. 21 sections are there, and each section's again divided into so many different layers of the practices, that how we can contemplate, how can we be mindful, and all is simply to gain the right understanding the way we practice. So eventually we can able to deal with the current situation, and with that again ability to define our destination, that coming to be again and again, and further on beyond the destination, that no destination at all. So unborn, unstate, unconditioned state. So with this, let's practice of a meditation then, right? This is just a philosophy. Now this is time to practice. Obviously, when we are practicing meditation, first of all, we have to find the comfortable seat and need it to be free from any kinds of burdens or distractions. Try to have a minimum distractions. And then this half an hour time that we have left, we have now, dedicating this time purely to the practice and being mindful of the, let's say, the breath. And in the practice of the breathing meditation, wherever you feel comfortable to pay attention to, whether the breath in your nose or in your abdomen. And obviously, if you feel uncomfortable with it, then you feel happy to recite the words or imagining the objects. Again, that's fine to begin with, to get the calmness of the mind. All what you need is the right effort and diligently practicing, an ability to be remembering and remembering that I am practicing here and my job is to pay attention to the breath. And this is simply to gain the calmness of the mind. Let the mind disconnect from all the engagements and disengaged, and then just be one object that we are intending to observe and pay attention to it. And the purpose of that is simply to gain into deeper state of the mental calmness, so that we can see how our mind is conditioned, works, how our mind is thinking, in this and in that. And eventually we will be able to comprehend its entirety. So, sitting in a comfortable position, relax your entire body, leaving all your burdens, all your responsibilities and duties. And just bring your attention to be mindful of your body sitting here and now. As you're sitting, mindfully aware, I am sitting. It's not about thinking, it's about feeling your presenceness here. Sitting and relaxing. And aware of each breath. The breath in your nose and your abdomen. A simply connection as it comes in and as it goes out. So settling down yourself, grounding yourself, mindfully aware, breath coming in and going out. It is just a tool to settle the mind, to train the mind, settling the mind from all the distractions, training the mind to see things as they truly are. When we are paying attention to the breath in your nose or in your abdomen, remember you're choosing one or another, not mixing. When you are working with a one object, let's say in your breath, in your nose, working with your nose all the time. Or when you're working with your abdomen, try to work with the abdomen all the time. Not mixing. And with that, it's much easier to gain the concentration, which brings the serenity and complete calmness. And while we are practicing, obviously, due to the untrained mind, we will experience other distractions, the sound that we hear, the physical pains that may come, the thoughts that invades. Those moments, observing that these have arisen, acknowledging that mind is no more with the object of an intended object, it's drifted into this distraction, noting that, okay, mind is with this distraction. And rather than again hanging on with it, let go and back to the primary object. This is a simple task we practice again and again. The more we diligently practice the simple task, the deeper and a deeper understanding we will get. Same practice, but very different experiences every single time. So continue practicing for a few moments. You may come out from the practice. Slowly open your eyes. Making sure and come out from the practice. Okay, so this is the theory and practice. So anybody has got anything to share or anything you want to add on before we do the loving kindness meditation?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we hear you.
Can you hear me? I had many distractions. I had many distractions, but I was able to go back to the breath and to the breath as a refuge. So thank you very much for that. I see David is gone. Thank you, Master.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so distraction is common things to happen. All what we do is to continue practice, and gradually will be less distraction. I'm not saying that there will be no distraction, less distraction. Right? So good. Right. Okay. So David has left to prepare himself to go to the town. Right. Okay. So yeah, the practice again makes perfect, and this practice is basically breathing meditation is just the initial stage of a practice to understand the breath, understand the body, understand the feelings, and understand the mind. And having said that, again, each sections, not like we do one section and forget another, all works in unison. Dharma, you want to say something? You unmute yourself.
I just thought maybe I just would like to share with Carmina and yourself one day what Ajahn Amaros told us. Is that okay? Apparently, Ajahn Chah was conducting a retreat in California. They organized a very comfortable hall because he came all the way from Thailand. And during the question and answer time, one of the meditators asked him, every time I meditate, I'm a little bit calm. The plane went through and that plane sound disturbed me, a distraction. So he said that hall was in the flight part, so plane was going and coming often. Ajahn Chah's reply was, why do you go and bother the plane? Leave the plane alone, you just meditate. So Carmina, that's what we have to do. You have distraction all the time. I thought it was a very good advice. And similarly, Ajahn Suchito, when he did the Tudong with Nick Scott, I think somewhere in Nepal, in the mountains, there was a huge waterfall. They were meditating next to the waterfall. And Nick Scott said, oh, it was meditating like next to the jumbo jet. And Ajahn Suchito said the same thing, leave the waterfall alone, you just meditate. So I think distractions, I think you just take it as a background. And if you can ignore it, then you'll be able to meditate. Obviously, that is their advice. They are advanced meditators. For someone new like me, it may be difficult. Thank you. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. So initial stage of the practice, the distraction becomes obstacles. But over the period of a time, those distractions actually helping us to grow. And that becomes an object to understand that our mind is unstable. Our mind is not belongs to us. And it helps us to comprehend more clearly and ability to reflect more insightfully, so that all the distractions, in fact, later on becomes an object of a meditation.
Yeah.
object of a meditation. And when it becomes the object of the meditation, mind simply do not take those things as the abstractions. And also we have to understand the practice of a meditation is not simply just gaining the calmness, or not just going into the trance. Practice of a meditation in Buddhism is to develop the wisdom from anything that happens. So we are practicing to recognize anything that comes, but again, we are not holding anything else, not developing this greed or hate on it at all. So that is the purpose of the practice. So it says, Anishito cha viharati. So we are living without holding nor rejecting, understanding them truly as they are. So that comes into the vipassana practice later on. So that's why the distraction is distraction when we are wanting something. When we do not want anything, that is no distraction. Right. Okay, so I also have to go to prepare for the event tonight, and also helping members to arrival for the event. So we have to finish it a little early too. So if you don't have any questions to ask, Yasodha, do you have anything? If not, then we will simply practice loving kindness meditation.
Thank you, Venerable Sir. I had a good session with a bit of distractions, but I was able to come back to the practice, and for me, it keeps improving. I've been practicing for a few weeks, maybe more than 1 month, I guess, and I see an improvement. So I'm happy about that. Would it be possible to have some advice how to have this in our daily lives with everything we do? Some advice regarding that, just to incorporate mindfulness.
My advice is develop from small things and divide into small activities. I call it collecting the points, which I normally used to say 15 seconds of mindfulness. Before, when you wake up, be mindful of 15 seconds before you come out from your bed. So mindful of your body, mindful of your feelings, and now maybe just to spend some time watching the breath. And then go to the toilet. While you're in the toilet, suppose you are brushing your teeth, spend few seconds of a mindfulness while you are brushing your teeth. Suppose you're going for a shower, rather than jumping in water straight away, spend 15 seconds mindful of taking a breath, mindful breath, and then just going in. Same with during the eating time. Before you start eating, spend 15 seconds contemplating on that, and then start eating. And also further on, when you are waiting for the bus or waiting for the till to pay your bills, and during that time again, just to remember that spending a 15 seconds practice. So with that and a regular 15 seconds of the practice regularly, then that will eventually develop into habit patterns, and then you will be able to recognize in your day-to-day activities that you are performing, and with that you will be developing more and profound experiences later on. So rather than jumping into straight away getting full understanding of it, collecting the points, and eventually those points becomes bigger points, and those dots becomes one straight line. And with that, having a one straight line, that means You're constantly being mindful in your daily activities. Further on, if you want to be a little bit of a more enthusiastic, then spending some times in the morning or in the evening, maybe 15 minutes or a half an hour practicing, maybe once a day or twice a day, and that again enhances furthermore and gain a more calmness and collectedness. With that, gaining the mental calmness and collectedness helps to develop in the rest of other days. Okay? So it's on your own hand, and a practice makes perfect. Right? So I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you very much.
Right, yes. So with this, let's practice loving kindness meditation to finish stuff. Okay. So sitting in a comfortable position, again, comfortable seats, less distractions, and spend some time observing your body as you are sitting here and dedicating this remaining time to relax, to reflect, and to rejoice. As you're settled, we practice loving kindness meditation. So allowing yourself to be happy, feeling yourself. You may bring your attention to feel the beating heart. And as you feel the beating heart, generating loving kindness and compassion to yourself, and allowing yourself to be happy, at peace, and free from suffering. Or mentally, you may recite, I am happy, I am at peace, I'm free from suffering. And remember, it is not just the words that we are reciting, but a feeling of that happiness, free from suffering. And meanwhile, extending that loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings. Or you may think that someone really needs it, and think of that person, bring into your mind, generating loving kindness and compassion to that person, sharing it to that particular person. May you be happy. May you be at peace. May you be free from suffering. And expanding to the entire beings in the entire world. Whatever beings there are, may they be happy. May they be at peace. May they be free from suffering. May they be free from all the troubles of a body and a mind. May they be able to maintain their happiness. Now bring your attention back to the moment, here and now again. Feel the breath, feel the body. And bring your attention to your eyes. And with your intention, slowly open your eyes and see the lights coming, and relax and reflect for a few moments. And come out from the practice of a meditation. All right, so thank you very much, everyone. So this is the end of today's session, and I wish you all the best and continue practicing. And hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Master.